I have been reading Chinese novels for a few years now, and I like it a lot because, as somebody that has no real exposure to this kind of world and this kind of culture, Chinese novels are a way for me to get a glimpse of what things are like. I bet a very romanticized version of things, right? It expands my knowledge and just helps me learn a little bit more about the world. And one of the things that I learned from Chinese novels was this concept of educated youths that were sent back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, around that period, to go and work in rural areas. It was very fascinating for me to learn about this time period in Chinese history because I had never heard about it before, and it just came with a whole different kind of a vibe in the novels that I read. And so I was actually a huge fan of these kinds of novels for a long time. I bet there aren't that many good ones. A lot of the Chinese novels I read, I think, is very like focused on transmigration. You have a character that transmigrates into the like 60s, and she now has to like take care of her family and make money. But just the concept of it was interesting, right? The concept of stamps, the concept of tickets, right? The concept that you can't just buy things, the concept that people work with a quota, right? And how like they try to share things, and how, you know, the idea of capitalism, right? And put our capitalists were considered evil or terrible, right? So it was just an interesting concept for me. And I think that is why Love Story in the 1970s is kind of a drama that I was looking forward to watching, and I really enjoyed watching for the most part when it came out. So yeah, let's talk about it. In this episode, I am going to be covering, like I said, Love Story in the 1970s, which is a 29 episode Chinese drama that aired on CCTV and Tencent. It stars Otto Chen and Sun Qian as our leads. Sun Qian plays Fanny, who is this girl that really wants to go to university, right? She currently works in a factory, right, as a worker, and what she wants the most is to go to university, right? This is just something that, because she's so smart, she has like a love for reading and things like that, right? So this is just something that she really, really wants. The problem is that the factory can only send one person a year, and she has to always fight for this, and she never is able to like get the approval from the head of the factory to be sent, right? Because they rather send somebody else. Corruption, it's all about networking, right? And she's not great at that, and it's very obvious, right, that this is what she wants. So she comes off a little heavy with this, right? Whereas our male lead, Fang Muyan, played by Otto Chen, is this son of a capitalist. And I know I mentioned that earlier, but because his parents were capitalists, quote unquote, right, they got all their property taken from them when basically the restructuring happened, right? Because now you're in this communist era, and these kinds of people are a cancer, right? Because they hoard everything, right? And so his parents were sent for re-education, and I believe he went along with them. And so he returned back to their hometown, and one night when he saves a bunch of people in this like rainstorm, he's injured and he needs someone to take care of him. This is where our female lead kind of comes in, and she realizes that if she is able to take care of him and he gets well, right, because he's a hero basically for like their hometown, she would then be easily awarded that kind of ticket to go to university, right? So this is why she does it. But at the same time, these two have known each other since childhood. So technically, they do have a connection even before our story starts. I finished watching all 29 episodes of this drama, and there are a lot of points that I like about this drama, but there are also points that I think Chinese drama in general struggle with when they have these tropes, and they never are able to just like satisfy me in a few ways. But I'll talk about things I like first, because I think this was an excellent drama, and it helped me kind of like see a different view of this world I have read about a lot, right? And kind of experience it and kind of see how things would look in this world, right? The first thing I like about this drama is our character, specifically Fanny for me, right? I think that a girl that's that inquisitive, that is that smart and wants to learn is very, very easy to watch and relatable, right? She has a love for literature, right? And I really like the fact that they did not make it math, because I feel like that is very common to like put STEM as something that is more special than literature. But I like how in this, it's really a love for literature, right? It's a love for, writers that are even considered banned, right? And we see how that's used against her at some point. But I love her for that, and I love that she stays true to herself in that sense, that anyone that comes into her life, including the male lead, has to accept that this is what she wants for herself. And partly why she marries Fang Muyang, right, is because he agrees to let her go to college. In fact, he says he would support her to go to college, right? As opposed to, I think, the second male lead that felt felt like he was a special catch, right? And honestly, that second male lead was giving like big fish in a small pond kind of vibes, right? I just liked that we had a character that was true to our beliefs, and that's kind of what drives that in a lot of things, right? And that leads me to talk about another thing that makes this drama awesome, is that, like I said, it kind of gives me a visual into this world and how things operate in a communist society like this, because everything that would normally not be a problem is a problem in this because of the kind of regime they are living under, right? So, for example, the fact that Fanny's brother cannot get married because they basically don't have a place to stay because places are given by basically the government is just atrocious because, like, she's had to basically conform in a lot of ways, and that's something you see in this drama a lot of people just like give into the system and live by the system because there's no real way to live outside of it, right? And that's kind of what happens to Fanny, even though she's not one to like want to get married really, right? I feel like if she never met Fang Muyang, right, she's not somebody that would like be so into the idea of marriage that she would throw away everything to get married, right? But it's kind of like this scenario, the society that she lives in has forced her to kind of have to do this, right? And I would say like fake married couples are not my favorite, mainly because especially when they like each other, right? When like they both like each other to an extent, but like keep pretending that they don't. And one of my biggest pet peeves, and it's one of the things I hate about this drama, is the fact that they sign an agreement, because there has never been a case of a drama I watch where that happens, where someone does not discover that agreement that they signed. And it always pisses me off because like, what is the point of the agreement really? Even like, it's not like you take it to like the court of law, right? Because again, it's literally a crime to do what you're doing, right? Faking a marriage to like get housing, right? So it's not like you can use it anywhere. So I never understood why they would even have that, right? Just like agree and shake on it and just move on. And so that's one of the things that pissed me off about this drama. But that's not what I'm supposed to be talking about right now. I'm supposed to be talking about things I like about this drama, right? So yeah, I think that watching people kind of struggle in a world that really gave them no room, right? To see people not even be able to get married because they don't have certain things, is kind of appalling, right? And to see how like a lot of the characters were bred to be evil because of how the society runs. A good example, right, is the other factory worker that actually goes to university, right? In the night where the rainstorm happens, our male lead saves her and her lover, right? But because technically it's against the law to have like sexual relationship, I guess, when you're not married, she like kept being evil to them. Obviously, you can say technically like there's no excuse for her to be acting like that, but I think that there's something about the system that is that frigid that people that are in love are not able to like express that without it being used against them for work and things like that. It makes no sense. And I feel like that comrade was kind of sad to me because you could see where the initial fear came from. I'm not saying that I agree with her and I like her or anything. I don't. It's just that there was just something about how everybody, including her, were existing in a way that was fearful of the system. And it's not like I have an issue with a system like that. The issue that there is with those systems is that because you are working with human beings that have grudges, that hold hate towards other people, when you then make a system that punishes very minute things, you create a breeding ground for people to like be mean to one another, because like obviously why you doing this, like the system does not allow you to do this, and so you punish them for that, right? So for example, when Fanny's books are kind of discovered, right, like a system that punishes to that level, right, is kind of very oppressive, because anyone that has a grudge on her, just like we see, will use it against her if they ever find out. And in fact, it gives people room to like be nosing into your life because they are looking for something to use against you. And so that's why I really dislike the general world that they are existing in. Another huge example of this is the character of Famujing, because I think she is the most relatable character in this because of what she has gone through, right? You have a person that is a child of capitalists, and the system punishing her, even though she was a kid when all this happened. Regardless, the system keeps punishing her for the fact that her dad was a capitalist, right? And her parents basically were not in line with the new regime, right? And it's like a stain for her to the point where she also marries because she's trying to get rid of this. It's also kind of sad because she was a brilliant mathematician, right? And she's not able to like serve her country because everybody has this like grudge against her, right? And it's just sad watching her have to like turn her back on her parents because of this. And I know she's considered terrible, like how could she do such a thing, but I actually have no problem with what she did. She tried to survive and she did her best, right? And it just really pissed me off generally to see this kind of world, because it just breeds bad behavior kind of in people, right? And so that was just something else that was interesting to me, in terms of that, like watching how this world exists and how people navigate a world where you need something for everything, right? You need a stamp for this, you need this for that, and how they like are able to circumvent that rules, right? Because that's another thing about human beings. No matter how strict you are, people are able to walk around it, because even the person that's like making the laws, right, needs enforcers, and those enforcers are only human, right? They will take bribes, and that's kind of what happens in law. You see characters that in this drama should be objective but aren't, because it's impossible to be objective. And so it's almost like a fake world where really the goal is just to network. And it's really the same thing capitalism as well. It's who you know, right, that will get you far. And so yeah, that's something I would say that was very, very intriguing, watching this drama and seeing how people kind of navigate and relate to one another. Now moving on, another thing that I liked about this drama was the relationships, right? Famu Yang and Fanny were adorable, right? And they had each other's backs all the time. And it was just awesome to see, right? And watch them grow and admit to their feelings, right? Again, I don't like how they made them admit to their feelings, because it came with that letter being discovered, or the agreement being discovered. But still, I like that, their relationship was very like well built. They did not rely solely on the fact that they knew each other as children. So I like that. Then moving on to Fangmujin and her husband, right? I think they were kind of like at some point the ones I was really watching for, because they were kind of just, they were a sight, right? They are so attractive together, and the angst involved in their relationship was just given, right? And I just feel bad from Famujin, because she's gone through a lot, but I like how she's able to hold her own. She's able to like suppress her emotions and do what she needs to get far, right? And I just like how Chua, right, her husband, comes to love her genuinely, right? There's something about how neither of them would admit to their feelings, but like they would kiss a lot and do things together, right? And it's just kind of like, ugh, like it's like yearning, but with guilt, especially from Chua's point of view, because like she looks like his ex, right? And that's kind of why he married her. But at the same time, he fell for her, I would say, very quickly, right? And so it was interesting watching them navigate their feelings. So yeah, that's all the good things I like about this drama, right? All the things that make this drama watchable for me, right? It was a good drama, and I just like how it introduced me to a lot of concepts I have heard before. And I wonder if there are more dramas like this, where it's a love story but also set in this time period. If you know any, please recommend me some. I would like to check them out. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about this drama. I hope you guys had a lovely time listening to this. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your week, and I'll talk to you guys again next week. Bye.